Hi, Deb.
Hi, Alison.
How have you extended upon your knowledge of teaching writing?
All right, I think through Anne's visits to Lugarno to show us her pedagogy in terms of writing, I've learned an awful lot compared to where I was this time 2-3 years ago. We've had twilight sessions, we've had Anne coming into the classroom to do demo lessons, we've had a lot of information about the pedagogy itself, and a lot of chance to talk to our colleagues in different stages, see how it's working there, taking up their ideas as well and using them in our own classroom, and basically whatever we've learned through Anne, trying it in the classroom and just giving it a go. And then as things have worked, we've changed them if need be, and things that have been really successful we've obviously kept in.
Fantastic.
But I think it's an ongoing process. It's definitely an ongoing learning journey.
Definitely. Thank you. So what does your writing lesson or session look like now? What's changed from when you started to where you are now?
It's far more interactive in terms of, I would say, me facilitating writing rather than actually doing a very modelled lesson. There's a lot more development of vocab across the whole class, brainstorming alternative words, better words, brainstorming how we can make a better sentence rather than a very simple sentence. Can we make it more interesting to the reader? The development of vocab has been huge. There's a lot of talking before the writing actually happens. So the vocab has been a huge thing, just taking out words that a lot of kinder kids aren't exposed to before they come to school. It's always a surprise what limited language kindergarten kids have. You can assume a lot of things, but it's only when you actually start talking about it that you actually realise they actually haven't got the vocab that they need to be good writers. We do a lot of oral construction of sentences before they actually write as well. Again, linking back to the need to talk, and the priority in any writing lesson now is development of words and vocab and better sentences rather than me modelling and then them copying a sentence. We construct it together.
Fantastic. How engaged are your students during the language literacy cycle sessions?
Always engaged. So kindies just have a thirst to learn, and I think that's one of the best things about the pedagogy actually works as well, because they love being part of the process, and they build off each other too. There's a little element of competition there, so you do have the dominant students who are doing more of the contributing, but once the others actually understand that, they all start then actually joining in, and it's almost who can come up with a better word, who can make that sentence better. So it's far more engaging. They get a huge amount of success out of creating a sentence that, if you think back to term one child could put a few words down on a piece of paper in the Best Start test. They now get a huge amount of success to think that they actually can write their own sentence, and some are writing 3 or 4 sentences now, and reading it back as well to share actually their work and show people.
Fantastic. What improvements have you seen in your students? What are they doing now that they didn't do before?
They're definitely taking more risks, and they have got more confidence in their ability to write by themselves. So we do daily 5 in the classroom, so part of that is working on their writing. They're now able to actually sit down independently with a stimulus at the table, or the stimulus might be linked to something they've done during the week in our language enrichment playgroups. And they can independently write a sentence now linked to some of the learning that they've been doing. So that's without me or Maria being nearby. They'll actually go off and actually do that. So I think that creating that independence and the confidence in themselves to actually write has been huge. And the data is showing that they are progressing through the clusters and the continuum a lot quicker than they were before the pedagogy was introduced to. So it used to be sort of the aim, and it still is the aim, that by the end of kindergarten they'll be working in the cluster 4. We've got students now working in cluster 4 at the end of term 2. And it's those students that we really need to extend semester 2 so that we can actually push them beyond writing 3 or 4 sentences to actually starting to think about what a paragraph is. So that's sort of like a long-term goal for those kids. But definitely the data is showing that there are huge gains in this pedagogy in terms of our writing.
Okay, Deb, so from where to from here? What's your next step on this writing journey?
I think the important thing is to keep trying it and learn from mistakes that I might make, but also be willing to give everything a go as well. It's important to, I think, adapt the pedagogy to suit my cohort of kids and be open to being flexible there. And probably the biggest thing for me in this journey is now to start doing or carrying out the pedagogy across the other KLAs, and particularly when we're writing science, geography, history, even in maths, using that pedagogy to brainstorm language and develop vocab in those areas too. And just keep reminding kids of the reason why we write, the meaning behind writing, how this pedagogy will actually help us become better writers, and it's important to share ideas and build the process of writing together.
Terrific. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
It's a pleasure.
And congratulations on doing wonderful things with kindergarten.
Thank you, Alison.
And you're going great guns. I'm very impressed.
Thank you very much.
All right. Hi, Bon. How are you?
Hi Alison, I'm good thanks. How are you?
Very good. We're here to talk today about LLC, and the first question is, how have you extended upon your knowledge of teaching writing?
I think the biggest change to my knowledge of teaching writing is I'm now actually seeing and believing that children and students can build their vocabulary, grammar and spelling skills all in the one writing session. The biggest change to my practice is the inclusion of the word banking. That's where we are thinking of all the words and phrases together as a group that we could use in our writing. That is a practice that I've never done before, and I've found that to be the most significant growth in my development of teaching writing. And also my writing sessions now, because they include learning about grammar, learning how to spell unfamiliar words and spelling patterns of certain words. The lessons I used to do in isolation no longer exist because they're done holistically within the one writing session. So that also has been a big plus in my teaching of writing.
Fantastic. So what does your writing lesson or session look like now? What's changed?
As I mentioned, with the word banking, we contribute together to all the words that we could possibly use in a text. And so the lesson has changed in the sense that more students are taking risks in their writing. They are using words they would never have heard of before. They are clamouring to share their work with me, and I use that word specifically as well, clamour, because I have never had children before so keen to share their writing with me. And a big reason is the brain points that I award for good writing. So when we write a couple of sentences, we also share them with each other and I listen to them. Another change also is that we have let our science unit drive our literacy activities and sessions this term. So integration is nothing new. However, the way we based our literacy sessions on our water unit has actually proved to be very successful. We've written a few information reports, we've written a few explanations as well, and even though we're still navigating our way through this, we are finding that it is something favourable for us.
Fantastic, fantastic. How engaged are your students during the language literacy cycle session?
Okay, so I mentioned before about the brain points and awarding brain points for when I hear really good work. So I guess that's the level of engagement has increased due to the brain points. Also, the inclusion of movement and music has also meant that children are a lot more engaged. I just find they are a lot more keen to share their work. So that to me gauges engagement levels. It's a good way to gauge their engagement level.
Terrific, terrific. All right, so what improvements have you seen in your students? What are they now doing that they didn't do before?
More risk taking, which is lovely. They are using words.
Okay, so what improvements have you seen in your students? What are they doing now that they didn't do before?
The students are taking more risks with their writing. They are plucking words out from our word banks and using them even though they may have never heard of them before. Sometimes they are not used in the right context, and that's okay. It means they are taking risks and having a go, and that's what the main thing is. And also with our LLC pedagogy, when we share our work, it gives me the opportunity to provide immediate feedback on children's writing, rather than wait a day for me to mark their work by myself at the desk. When they write and share their work, I can give them immediate feedback on a way to improve their work, or if they have used the word in the wrong context, it gives them the opportunity to fix it up on the spot, rather than read a comment, like I said, a day later.
Terrific. Okay, so where to from here? What's your next step on this writing journey?
For me personally, I feel I need to improve my the inclusion of music. Some lessons I may use music. Other times I will revert back to clapping or doing a rhythm, a body percussion rhythm. I would like to get more into the habit of the music because it really engages the children a lot better. Also, the other type of movement involved in these lessons is getting the children to move to another area of the room to write down their words for their word bank. That is something I am nowhere near mastering, the movement around the room. So that is definitely an area I would like to improve upon in my practice. And also, as I mentioned before, we let our science unit drive our literacy activities this term. We would like to continue that, and it could be perhaps a geography or history that could drive it next time. So in terms of programming, we are keen to do that a little bit better as well.
Terrific. Thank you for your time. You're doing some wonderful stuff in your classroom, and I really appreciate you having a chat to me today.
Thanks, Alison. A pleasure. Thank you.